Okay, folks, this week's course is Penn National Golf Club. The specific course that I played is called Iron Forge, which is the south course of the two at the location. There's another course there, and as you can read in on the website, there's quite a difference between the two courses. One is a big open course for the most part. It's not entirely open. It's not entirely free of houses, but for the most part, it is. And the other course is a much more pine crest kind of course, I guess. I would say it has a lot of trees and stuff bordering the fairways and a big lake in one section of it. The problem is with both of these courses is that there are neighborhood roads that run through the courses, through both courses. So you basically have to take 81 North out of Maryland into Pennsylvania up to, I believe it's Chambersburg or something like that. But Fayetteville is just east of that town where it intersects Route 30 and Route 81. So it's not more than a half an hour drive across the border. Then you head east on 30. You pass through Fayetteville, and then the next few miles or so, there's a Route 997 that heads south that goes right to the course. It will pass through the north course. Then you will see a big white and blue sign for the facility itself, Penn National. And then you do a little bit of maneuvering inside of that neighborhood, and then you're at the course. It's not hard to get to, although you do go into the right and you go through and back, and then you make a right turn and then a left, and you'll see the clubhouse where the cars and everything are. And it's a fairly modest clubhouse. It's not anything big or ostentatious, no two-story deal or anything like that, but it's nice, and it is, I would say, a modestly good Rambler type clubhouse. And they have fairly upscale. It's not like pop color or anything like that, but it's definitely not, casual. I wouldn't say it was a casual facility. It's a fairly decently dressed, golf shirts and shorts and pants and so forth. They do have a pretty decent clubhouse. They do have a pretty good pro shop, and they have a nice, modest restaurant and bar there, and a patio facility there. But it is not very big or very expensive. Nice staff and everything there. It's what you would call an upscale rural golf course in that sense. The houses in the area are decent, modest, nothing really ostentatious. There's some more challenging and more adventurous architecture on the Iron Forge course once you get out on the course, but in general, it's a mellow yet upscale facility. So we'll leave it at that, and hopefully talk about the course now. So the Iron Forge course itself is, if you imagine sort of a baseball field, home plate, left bleachers, right bleachers, center field, everything. But just stretch that out over at least a quarter mile, maybe a half mile, from home plate to the center field fence. That's kind of what the course. It has a kind of a bowl kind of shape going on it, and it has it's like you go up towards the south end of the course. It rises gently, and there's some parts of it that have some small ponds, lakes on them, but most of the course is fairly dry. It's pretty straightforward. The course is in quite decent shape, except for one really noticeable problem, which is the greens. And I would say the greens on this course are almost dead, but not quite dead. They're serviceable greens, yet you can see the last time that it was laid down. You can see the little lines in the greens and some patches in the greens. It's not as bad as a lot of greens that I've seen like this, where there's big black spots in the greens or bare spots. Literally, there's definitely faded spots on some of the greens, and the main thing is that they're playable, but not 100% tracking. They're fast greens. They have a fair amount of action. When you combine the speed of the greens with the relatively modest but effective action of the greens, The breaks on these greens can be really tricky, and it's not really difficult to three putt the hole. The ball just sometimes it just seems like it will not stop, especially if they put the holes on the slope of a green or something. But at the same time, it's not impossible to hit long putts, like a decent, fast, big green. I hit a couple of 30-footer putts, and while it wasn't a regular thing, certainly I did get a couple, so I really couldn't complain about that in that regard. It was definitely a puttable, playable course, despite the fact that the greens were not really in good shape. But they're not awful. They're not really bad. The sand traps were okay. Some of them had rocks in them, some of them didn't. Some of them had really nice white sand, some of them did not. The white sand in some of them was maybe 2 or 3 inches thick in places, not really deep. You have to be careful not to bottom out the club on the bottom of the sand, the bunker. But the grass is really nice. They absolutely nice, thick, I don't know if you call it bluegrass, but certainly thick rough that's not too thick. It isn't impossible or super difficult to play out of the rough, but it's there. The fairways were definitely in decent condition, not too hard, not too soft, not too thick. Not really a problem. The greens were not really enclosed, or, tightly enclosed with waste or flowers or anything like that, or water. There's only 1 or 2 holes on this course that has a lake or water right next to the green. Certainly the par 3, which I think is number 5 or something on the Iron Forge course. And then there's also what I believe is number 13, no, sorry, 14 or 15 on the back that has a lake or a pond right next to the green. And then the next hole is a par 3 that you're playing uphill that has that another lake to the right and a big waste area. So there's some peril on this course, certainly, but the greens are all very accessible. It's only 7,000 yards. It's only a slope 135 from the back tees. I had no problem playing it from the back tees. There is a 605-yard par 5 on the backside, number 17. The other holes were all, 420, somewhere 385, 420 at the most. All quite decent. Nothing really long in terms of par 3. Nothing over 220, I believe, at the most. And the challenge was more from the verticality of some of the holes than from the length. And certainly there are some holes there that have a fair amount of houses near the fairway that you're playing off the tee, and you're looking at these houses, or you're playing off the tee and you're running down the side of these houses. But none of the houses are really flat there on the course. You always have a chance to hit a shot down the side on both sides, or hit a draw away from the houses and come back in, things like that. It's definitely not too tight. It's not super easy to stay out of the woods or out of the waste or out of the adjoining houses and go LB, but it's not hard. And I think this is a fair course in that sense. It does give you a fairly good amount of room off the fairway to play the course. Oh, there's water, and I think it's number 11 where the mill is, or the silo is. But you just can't go out there and just spray balls all over. It's not that open of a course where you can walk out there and just spray balls all over the course. So I gave the course a B star. I think it could have had a few things improved. There was only one opportunity when I went out there, while I was out there for 3.5 hours, to see a cart, any kind of refreshment cart, and they only take cash on the cart there. So all in all, a nice facility, a nice drive. It has another course up there which is much more laid back and so forth. Not this big wide open space hitters course. I think that course is 6,800 or 6,900. And rated about the same as the Iron Forge course. They both have some problem with cars running through the course or next to the course on roads. They both have a little bit of a problem with houses on or near the course, but they are fairly modest in that sense with that problem, with each problem. I didn't hear any airplanes or anything around it, and it is just It was $70 with the internet fee off through Golf Now in the middle of the day on Saturday to play this course. I am definitely looking forward to playing both the Iron Forge course another time and also the other course up there at least once. And so all in all, it was a good outing, a decent 2-hour drive. I mean, it just wasn't really hard to get to the course. Wasn't really difficult to play. And certainly I got back well before dark, got back home. So I would call that more of a normal kind of outing for me, which is more like an hour and a half to 2-hour drive. And this certainly fit that bill. The traffic was absolutely nothing. You just get on the Beltway, get on whether you take 270 or you go out 66 to 81 and go up to Hagerstown or whatever. You get to Hagerstown, take 81 and go over to the course. It's really easy drive. So all in all, a good experience. I was very happy that I found this course just by accident. Wasn't even really thinking about it. Didn't do too much research. Went up there and played it. Had a good time. It was a lot of fun to play. That's the Iron Forge Golf Course at Penn National in Fayetteville, Pennsylvania.